Hey guys, how's it going? This is Francesca Dominique, and today on TBR, we are with Stetson Lewis, who is a professional bull rider and mixed martial artist. And unbeknownst to the people around, this is actually the second time we've done this interview. I just fucked up and forgot to press record, so here we are again. I really, really appreciate your time. How's your day been so far?
Oh, it's been going pretty good. I went and got a stud horse today, gilded him and everything, and been doing stuff like that all day. And then I stopped by the restaurant at my mom's place, and she was getting overloaded with people, so I went and helped her out right there at the restaurant. So it's kind of been an adventure.
There you go. There you go. Starting early, finishing late. There you go. But that's dope. How long has your mom owned a restaurant? Is that something that you had like growing up? Was she always into that, or?
No, we bought the Thule Freeze right before COVID hit, and COVID hit and everybody shut down and all that stuff. So we weren't able to officially open up until like late 2020 when things started opening up back again. And so, yeah, we've had it for a couple of years now. So it's going pretty good.
Nice, nice. What type of food, what type of menu is it?
It's fast food, American food, you know.
There you go. There you go.
1950s style ice cream parlor fast food place.
I like it. It's a classic. It's a classic for sure. So going back to kind of how you started into, bull riding and that whole world of things. So for the people that don't know, you grew up in this, right? You have family members that were in that lifestyle, that competed in that. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up. You also have a bunch of brothers too, right? So what was that like growing up in that type of lifestyle?
Well, it was rough being the youngest. I was always getting my ass kicked every day, but it made me tougher and everything. But my grandfather was a 5-event man in the college rodeo circuit and in the PRCA and everything. He did all the rough stock events, and he did a couple of the timed events. He calf roped and bulldogged. And then my dad, he was a saddle bronc rider and a bull rider and everything. So everybody on my dad's side was involved with rodeo stuff. And everybody on my mom's side, they were cowboys, but they are law enforcement and everything. My mom's dad was director of law enforcement for the state of Texas for 52 years and everything. And he set some of the laws that are implemented in the state of Texas and stuff today and everything. He not only was a director of law enforcement, but he was a constable for the city of El Paso and everything, which is one of the highest forms of law enforcement that you can be, besides the Texas Ranger.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's like a long lineage of people that are also really involved in how the development of the of society and really influential in both of those worlds. That's pretty interesting. And then when you first started bull riding, did you do bronc riding too, or just bull riding?
I ride saddle bronc horses and bulls.
Okay, nice. When which one do you like better?
I like riding bulls better. Some of my worst injuries that I've had were from bucking horses and everything. People don't realize it. Bucking horses, they can be a lot more dangerous than bulls. They can launch you like a missile,
Yeah.
And the bull throw you, you got to worry about getting up and getting out there. But when you get launched out of a saddle on a horse, they shoot you out like a bullet out of a gun, And so, yeah, some of my bad injuries and wrecks horses.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely had a few lawn dart moments in my own riding career where you definitely, yeah, and the speed as well. It can be quite the event sometimes. But when you were younger, like what age did you start doing this? And as far as like obviously it runs in your family, like what did your mom think of this as being the youngest boy? And sometimes that kind of plays a little role in there.
Oh, my mom, she's not like your average mom. My mom was a hard ass. She you know, if we cried, she whooped our butts, and she my dad was, you know, he was gone a lot. I'm not trying to throw my dad under the bus or anything, but
Mhm,
he's a chemical engineer, and so
mhm,
he was doing a lot of shift work, being a chemical engineer, and then he was rodeoing on top of that. So all his vacation time that he'd save up, he was gone, going to rodeos and everything. So I didn't really get to hang out with my dad and see my dad a whole lot growing up and everything. So my mom kind of took that role of like being the father too, So we were playing football, we were playing hockey and all that stuff. I grew up in Colorado, in Elizabeth, Colorado, and so uh yeah, she was definitely a hard ass. I'm glad she wasn't a man, I'll tell you that.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. So she was like for it then. So she like
Yeah,
encouraged you. Did she encourage you to do it?
uh yeah, she did. You know, we wanted to do it, so she's like, well, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna be all in. You're not gonna pussyfoot around. You're gonna be the best at whatever it was that we did, whether it was wrestling, football, or riding bulls or playing hockey. Like she made sure we were the best at it. And me and my brothers, in all our sports accolades, we always dominated. And that was because of her. That we dominated. So it was. She's one of those people that really pushed you. She's the definition of behind every strong man there's a strong woman. That.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, she has the right way of looking at it, especially in like such a dangerous sport as, the ones that you're involved in on all levels in a way, it's like you really have to be all in. Like you can't be one foot in, one foot out. That's how people get hurt. So it's definitely a good mentality, that she encouraged you to have and really builds, right here, strong individual, so she did a job, all of the good stuff. And then for jujitsu, you have a recent, like kind of like leveling up, didn't you? Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, last Friday, I got striped up. I'm a 3-stripe blue belt now, and
Okay,
got closer to getting my purple belt and everything. But
there you go.
I I started I started mixed martial arts in 2009, and I took my first cage fight December 5th of 2009 and everything. And the gym that I was training at, they didn't train in gis or anything like that. It was all no gi and stuff.
Hmm.
So, we there was no belting system or anything. It was just, you were there to train to fight, and that was that. And so that's what we did. And it was probably 5 years ago I started wearing a gi and stuff, and then uh, got leveled up to blue belt and last year, and uh, or about a year and some change ago. Actually, it's almost 2 years now. Thinking about it, but yeah, and the guy that gave me my blue belt, he left his gym behind. He needed to go to Albuquerque. His girlfriend graduated from college up there, and she decided she was going to stay up there and everything. So he left, and so then I found Briggs Academy in El Paso, Texas,
Hmm.
and the Ryan Malamute. from the east side on Briggs Academy is ranking me up and everything in jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of a slow process since I've bounced around so much from gym to gym over the years, but it's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah, yeah.
those one of them circumstances where it wasn't really my doing. It was just life circumstances for coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, stuff happens, and we all try to move on and cope as best we can in a way. So did you start jujitsu when you were in Texas, or growing up as you kind of bounced around? Did you compete in other places? Because I know that you've been in been to like Arizona, right? New Mexico, Texas. Was
Yeah,
Texas kind of the real place where you kind of really dove into it, or?
Texas was like the starting point of my martial arts life. I had a full ride scholarship to Odessa College when I was 17. And when I was going to college, I had to deal with a bulldogger that was a bully. This guy used to freaking torment me, and one night I was in a dorm room playing some video games with some other kids, and this guy came in there drunk, and I went to leave, and somebody pushed me in the back into him, and then this guy pushed me back, and he's from Alabama, so he's like, "Bow up, boy, bow up, boy." And I told him, I was like, "Look, man, I don't want no problems with you. Like, leave me alone, And then he pushed me again, and I tripped over the arm of a couch, and I fell on my back. And when I did, like, he just fell right on top of me. And this guy was, he was a great big dude. He was like 6'5", 6'6", 240, 230, 240. He was huge, and he got on me and he grabbed a hold of my head. He had me like in a headlock and cranked the heck out of my neck, and he screwed my neck up and everything. And it was at that point, I was like, I'm gonna have to do something, um so I found martial arts academy that taught Kung Masul in Odessa, Texas, and I started training there and everything. And I talked to the coach about what had happened, and then the counselor and the dean, because I just felt like everywhere I went, I was always trying to watch behind me, always watch my six, because I didn't know where that guy was given time. And I was going to college to learn and get a degree. I wasn't there, to get bullied by somebody. And
Right.
um, my mom talked to the coach about it, and then the coach, he wasn't really a big help, and he's just like, well, you boys don't need to be fighting or anything. And I remember we were sitting at this table in this meeting, and I told the coach, I said, I'm not trying to fight with the guy. I was like, I don't know what his issue is with me. He just doesn't like me for
Yeah.
some, and so it didn't stop there. It got to a point where I was like, this guy is like twice my size, has 100 pounds on me. Like, I'm gonna have to like pick up a board and bash him over the head or something to get him to stop. But I was worried if I did that, then I'd get kicked out of college anyways, and then the city of Odessa might press charges on me and stuff like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
what was to leave. So I left college and came back home, and I was galloping racehorses on the racetrack at Ruidoso Downs, and there was a barn in between the two barns that I worked for that was vacant. And so every morning I'd just walk through this barn to get to my next barn instead of walk all the way around a barn, and because you don't have much time. Like, you start galloping around 5 a.m. and then the track closes at 10,
Yeah.
and people don't realize it, but if you're trying to get like 10 head out, like that takes a long time to get 10 head out and gallop them
Oh,
around.
yes.
And so, you're hustling, there's no breaks, you're hustling your butt off. And so I went through this barn, and this great big dude standing at the end of the barn, he screams at me. He says, "Hey, you!" And I turn and I look and I say, "Yeah." He said, "If you come through my barn again, I'm gonna fuck you up." And I said, "I thought this barn was empty." And he says, "Well, now you know it's not." So I said, "I apologize about that." And so there's this guy, Luca, who trained special forces guys and stuff like that in the military. Then he worked with Tito Ortiz and worked with Ken Shamrock. He helped start the Lion's Den out there in California with Ken Shamrock,
Oh,
and
shit.
he
Wow.
managed Crazy Horse. Man, I can't think of that guy's name right now, but Crazy Horse has fought over in Japan a lot and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But he's managed him and everything. And I called him up one day and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for like a legit like mixed martial arts school to get into, because I want to learn self-defense, like real self-defense, not this Hollywood crap." So he sent me
Yeah.
to Tiger Town MMA, and I went to Tiger Town and I started training there. And for the first 2 weeks that I was there, like these guys were kind of like old school with it. Like I went in there and they're like, "All right, here's the waiver, sign the waiver." And then those guys kicked my ass every day for like 2 weeks. And finally I came back one day and the gym was like kind of empty. It was empty. And one of the coaches that was there was in the back. And
Ooh, let's see. Oh, we just need the video.
all right, I'm sorry about
Okay.
that. My mom
No, it's
called me.
okay. It's okay. Oh no,
Um,
it's okay. It's okay. No worries. But we're talking about you signing up and then the coming back to the gym after those 2 weeks and then being
yeah,
like, oh.
yeah. The coach that was back there, he's in the back office, and I walked back there, and he had a laptop, and he's looking at his laptop, and he looks up at me. He says, "You're back." I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, I didn't think you were going to come back." He said, "But now your training's going to begin." And from there, those guys started really working with me, and then I trained for 2 or 3 months, and I one of the coaches that was there said, "Hey, there's some fights going on in Grants, New Mexico. Do you want to go?" And I said, "Yeah." So I started training for my first fight and getting ready for that. And we showed up to Grants, and we were pulled into this rodeo arena, and there's this barn there, and we went inside this barn, and it was, oh gosh, it was so cold. There was snow on the ground, like it was cold as, oh, and you're wearing shorts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You're trying
Yeah.
everybody's like they put a trash can back there and like lit a fire in it, and like everybody's like shivering, standing by this trash
Yeah.
can. And I was like thinking
Yeah,
myself, I was
standing
like, what the hell
around.
did I sign up for? And so yeah,
For real.
and the guy that I was supposed to fight, he called the promoter and he told the promoter that he wasn't going to make it. So my coach is like, "Hey, your guy's not coming." And I was kind of bummed out. I trained my ass off for this, and here I am freezing my ass off. And I was like, all right, whatever. And my coach walks off, and then my coach comes back to me and my coach said, "You still want to fight?" And I said, "Well, I didn't come to watch." And he's like, "Follow me." And so I followed him, and I met the promoter, Freddie Sandoval, and he said, "You still want to fight, kid?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, you're going to fight this guy." And he points across this bar, and he's like, "You're going to fight this guy over there." And, the guy way over on the other side of the barn, he didn't look too big or anything like that. And I was like, okay, I'll fight him. And so I make my walk to the cage. I climb up in there, and this guy makes his walk to the cage. And as this guy was approaching the cage, I mean, he just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, oh, shit. And I looked back at my coach, and I was like, this guy's pretty fucking big, man. And he's like, don't worry about that. And this guy climbs up in there. He had like 30 pounds on me. Like,
Oh my God.
and they called it a catch weight fight, and so like, and at this time, I was like 18, and I was like 120 pounds soaking wet. I never really hit the gym and lifted weights or anything at that time, and so, man, when he climbed up in there, I looked at him and I told myself, man, I'm going to put my Sunday best on you. And that's all I can do. And they locked that door, and that guy said, "Are you ready?" I was biting at the bit, and whenever I went across there, I mean, I lit that dude up as much as I could, and fought my heart out and everything. Went to decision with the guy, and
wow.
they gave it to him on decision because he kept taking me down. He kept double legging me, and he's just so big and strong. Even if I sprawled out, he'd just drive me to the cage, and then he'd just just muscle me down. But every time he muscled me down, I'd just hang on to him, because I knew, like, if I give this guy any kind of space to like stack up and start hitting me, like, he's gonna make my life a nightmare. So I just like bear hug him and hold on to him for dear life until the ref would stand us back up, and then when the ref would stand us back up, I was faster than him. And then I'd just start boxing his ears off, and he didn't like that. So then he'd just grab me and force me to the cage and drag me down again, and so, yeah, he won off those takedowns and everything. But if it was just a boxing match, I dang sure would have won.
Yeah. But it also kind of shows, even for your first time out, it's like having all of these things like fall through. The opponent, doesn't show up, and then you have to fight this enormous person. It's like this crazy first fight story, but it's like you made it through. Like, even making it to a decision, I feel, with someone that's like 30 pounds above you, like, that is a win. Like, that is a win. Hopefully the rest of them didn't go like that. Were the rest of them like pretty smooth kind of as you got going and like fighting and stuff?
You know what? The craziest thing is every fight that I've ever took was like something happened, something crazy and everything. I took a title fight one time, and my coach didn't show up to corner me. And so this guy that you see right here was my corner in that fight.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah. I had my buddy corner me, and then one of my last kickboxing fights, I didn't have a corner, and by this time I've been used to it, so one of my buddies, he's a bull rider, he's made the NFR a few times, everything. I told him, I was like, you want to go with me to Oklahoma and corner me in a fight? And he's like, I have no fucking clue how to help you. I was like, just act like you know what you're doing, dude. I was like, worst case scenario, if I'm bleeding, clean me up, and that's that, and put this ice pack on in. And so he's like, okay. So I wrapped my own hands and everything, and made it look like he was wrapping my hands, because he didn't know how to tape hands. And he's like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I was like, just act like you know what you're doing. Everything's gonna be fine. I taped my hand, but like had him like hold his hands over my hand and like kind of guided him a little bit, and then the commission signed off on my wraps and everything, and off we went, and all that, but it kind of seems like every one of my fights has kind of a little bit of a crazy story to it and everything.
Yeah. But it's always good, right? It adds a little character. also kind of helps prepare you for, okay, when things do go wrong, it's just like, okay, just action, stay focused, this is what I got to do, because some people fall apart and you're like, this is not good. You should not be fighting right now, but it's always good to be able to kind of roll with the punches in the literal form, and be able to still go in there and like execute and stuff. Do you find that, are there a lot of people that ride bulls that train in jiu-jitsu or train the MMA side? It seems to be a very like common mix, but like not really at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that train jiu-jitsu that ride bulls, and there's a lot of guys that are wrestlers. They either wrestled in high school, they wrestled in college and everything. But I know a few of my buddies, like Francisco Morales. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and Justin Adams is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he rode bulls. And he's kind of talking about cracking back out in the bull riding world again. Give it one last.
Oh my God.
and I've told him, I was like, man, as soon as you get your stuff, like, you need to come down the road with me. We got to go together,
Yeah, that's like epic.
Yeah, he was a couple generations before me, and one of his last bull rides was when I was first going pro, and we were in Stephenville, Texas, and he was in the chute behind me on his bull, and this bull kicked up really hard, and the guy that was spotting him wasn't doing a good job, and Justin wasn't wearing a helmet or anything like that, and they had ply boards on the sliders of the chutes, and this bull sent Justin's head through the ply board, and
oh my God.
Yeah, and I look back, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And that was the last time that he got on anything around me. He's gotten on. I think he got on a bull a couple years back or something at Cowtown, and but yeah, that was the last time that he was like really going hard professionally and stuff. So yeah, a lot of guys do train the jiu-jitsu and bull riding kind of go hand in hand with each other and everything. You got to have a lot of core strength to do both, and you don't want to be a big muscular guy in either one of those sports. Having a lot of muscle doesn't benefit you in any kind of way in that. And so
yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting too how like both of those sports are very Brazilian dominated. Like, how do you, on the local circuit, like on the local like circuits of like bull riding, do you find that it's mainly dominated by Brazilians, or is it still kind of like half and half, or like?
The PBR is really dominated by Brazilians. Like the PBR is like a staple of bull riding. It's kind of like the UFC and everything. Everybody wants to be a PBR world champ and everything. So you don't find a lot of those Brazilians going to like pro rodeos and the PRCA and everything. They're all mainly going to those PBRs, but the PBR is definitely where like the money's at. If you're going to make a lot of money riding bulls, and that's the route to go. And especially like with these team deals that they're starting, I'm up in Bowie, Texas, at the end of this month for the PBR Combine, and I'm going to try and get drafted onto a team for the PBR and everything. And so there's a lot of money in it. And those guys, I've traveled with a lot of those Brazilians, and they're great guys. Like, I love traveling with them. Like, those guys, they come from sleeping on dirt floors, and from nothing, and their only way out is either MMA, soccer, or bull riding, and so they're, whatever they're in, they're giving it 110%, and they all got really good attitudes about them. Like, they always build each other up. And when I was traveling down the road with Frankie and Robson, Aragon, and a couple other guys. It was awesome. Like it was a lot of fun. Those guys uplifted you and made you feel invincible. And Gary LeFew, he always said, if you run with the dogs, you're going to catch fleas, and if you run with wolves, you're going to learn how to howl. So those guys are definitely wolves, and I like running with them and learning from them and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I actually I had interviewed Frankie, I think last week or the week before. So he's episode 2. I learned a lot. I was like, oh, okay, I'm really excited for this. But yeah, he had a lot of good stories, a lot of good road stories. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. Yeah, it's like being in such a place where like so many things can go wrong, right? In the space of those 8 seconds, or even just getting up to the place where getting in the chute and getting out of the chute and leaving the, like that whole part of it, it's like that mental game that manifests as, it's like you really have to have good people around. Like it's similar, I feel like, in MMA as far as like the teams, right? As soon as you get up to a certain level, like you really have to have that good team around you, not just for the for like the sport aspect of it, but the mental aspect of it, right? Because it's like a mentally compromised human is a physically compromised human. You won't be able to go out there and execute and do what you need to do. But before you're making that walk, I guess you could call it the walk to the or once you arrive at the arena, do you have like a ritual that you do to get you in a certain state, or do you just kind of try to stay loose, stay away from the people that are looking a little more nervous than others? Or like, what is your ritual like once you get to the actual like showground?
For me, it's just staying calm. I've been riding bulls for so long, and I've been on, probably 2,000 or 3,000 bulls in my life because I started so young. It's just it's kind of like, going out, getting in your truck, starting it up, and getting on the highway. It's like that. I'm sure, like whenever you're, 15, 16 years old and you get your driver's license, you're nervous, especially if you get on the highway. And then by the time, you're an adult and stuff, it's just secondhand nature to you,
Yeah, for sure.
There's a couple times where I've been a little nervous and stuff, but, I just stay out of my head. That's the main thing, is stay out of your head, because whenever you get in that squirrel cage, that's when things go bad and stuff. So, I've just learned to, not fight my head if I buck off. If I buck off something, I'm a pretty bad critic on myself and everything. So I try to just not even think about that buck off, and just go on, and that's the best way to approach it. That for me, at least, it's just another day in the office. It's another cow's calf,
Right. Yeah. Afterwards, do you feel like a sense of relief, or you kind of like get like a super high from it, or you kind of like, all right, cool, like I made it through, and then it's kind of like on to the next activity? Like what are your feelings like after a night is completed and you're like, I'm alive, I'm still here? What is that like?
You know, for me, like if I make a really good bull ride in the arena, I may, give a fist pump or something like that, and do a woo kind of thing to my buddies and everything. But I mean, as soon as I'm out of the arena, it's like, all right, now it's time for another one, because it's kind of like a friend of mine told me one time. I was training with him and we were sparring, and I threw a really good combo on this guy, and I admired my punches. I admired my combo. The next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. And he said, don't stand there and admire your punches. Don't admire your punches. Just keep going. And then I kind of took it the same way as bull riding too. Like, as soon as I make my ride and I get out of there and stuff, like I'm happy about it. But I mean, as soon as I get back behind the chutes, it's like, all right, that was done. Now I got another one coming, and I got to focus on that one now. And I think, the only time I'd be like super pumped maybe for a few days would be like if I won a world championship.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna ride this high for a little. Yeah, I think it was it Phil Jackson, or there's some like really famous NBA coach that would always, tell the players like, okay, like even when you win, even when you win a championship or whatever, or just a win like season game or whatever, like don't let the highs get too high and don't let the lows get too low. Try to stay in that, that median area. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But it helps, it helps to not go completely like you lose one game, you're like, I'm a horrible person, I can't do anything right, like you don't want to go all the way down there, but it's like, okay, obviously I messed up here. Let me look back and let me try to, figure it out. But sometimes I kind of I have to go back to that, mentality of things. It's like, okay, yeah, you're kind of staying in the moment, obviously, like, take in the moment, but the next moment or tomorrow, it's a new day and you have to start again, like you start it all over again. And but it's such an interesting journey. I feel too, doing something that's so incredibly difficult and dangerous. Like, I feel like you learn so much about yourself um each time that you do it, like even in practice or even in, like game time situations. Like that's one thing that I've always admired in like the mixed martial arts world, and obviously in the bull riding side of things too, but I'm still kind of like learning, a little bit more about that and the culture and everything. But it's really amazing to kind of be around people that have such an appreciation for the moment and being able to use their body, and like being able to use their limbs and all of that. And it was really interesting talking to Frankie. It was like similar situation with you discussing like the injuries. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was
Yeah.
like, I think I stubbed my toe last week. Like, I don't know, like my things seem so minute. And obviously it's like, I don't know, training horses, things can go wrong. But at least usually a horse is like on your side for the most part, so it's a little bit different. But as far as like recovery stuff, what is your like recovery routine, or maybe things that you do, or just staying active? Like, what is your way of like recovering from each weekend competition or bull riding competition? What is your normal routine like?
Well, if I get banged up pretty bad, then I'll usually take a couple days to just relax and let my body heal up a little bit. Um, it's like the last time I was in Tombstone, I was there March 4th, and I took a horn into the ribs, and so you're damaged on a cellular level there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to just really not do anything strenuous. I don't lift weights or train real hard at the gym. Like, I'll still show up and like coach, but like I
Mm-hmm.
won't roll anybody or spar anybody. Um, so I just try to let my body relax. Like all this last week, I haven't done nothing. I have ended up tearing my PCL in my left knee, and I strained
Oh
my
goodness.
LCL. And so I got an MRI coming on the 10th, and then I had to spend $700 on this particular knee brace that is built out of carbon fiber, and it keeps everything together and stuff. And so hopefully I'll get that on Tuesday, and then I'll be able to wear it in Tombstone next weekend and everything. But yeah, all this last week I really haven't done much. I've just been trying to let my knee recover as much as it can and stuff. And I know like a week isn't very much whenever you tear a ligament, but I can't. I'm at a
It'll have
position
to
right
do.
now.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
have to do. That'll.
yeah. So yeah, that's usually like my recovery routine. Like if I get banged up pretty bad or anything like that, um, But if I'm not real sore and I'm doing good, then I just Monday I'm back on the grind. I'm in the weight room lifting weights. I'm training jujitsu, kickboxing. I'm drilling on my stationary barrel and my buckrite machine, or I'm riding a horse bareback and jumping and everything. So it just kind of depends, like how I'm feeling, how my body's feeling, and how I did that weekend too. There's been times where I did terrible and still got banged up, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this slide. I'm going to, punish myself a little bit for letting that happen. So
Yeah. As far as advice that you would give somebody that is coming up in bull riding, I know we touched on this last time, but I thought the pieces of information that you gave were very, very crucial piece of information. But yeah, as far as advice that you would give somebody that's trying to come up in the bull riding arena of things, what advice would you give them going into the industry?
um, surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. There's a lot of people out there that think that they know what they're doing, think that they're bull riders and stuff like that, but we call those kinds of guys, we call them gunsels. And there's a lot of practice pins and things. And so the best thing to do is find you a good practice pin with some credible guys. Even do your research on the guys that are there. See who they are and what they're about. And I didn't say this the last time that we talked, but the best person, there's two people in my opinion that are the best people to learn from, is Cody Custer and Gary LeFew. They put on bull riding schools, and if you're a young bull rider coming up, you need to hit up Cody Custer or Gary LeFew. I was trained by Gary LeFew, and my riding style is a lot of Gary LeFew's stuff and everything, and so I really like going to Gary LeFew's schools and clinics, and even now, like I'll go to one of his clinics if it's close by and everything, just to tune up on things and pick his brain on stuff. He does a lot of mental prepping too, and he encourages guys to read Psycho Cybernetics and everything. And I've been reading that book, and I really like it. And so, bull riding is a big mental sport. It's more mental than anything else, because if you have a defeated mindset, then you're going to get defeated every time, if not killed. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's the best advice I could give like young guys going is, if they can't afford to hit Gary LeFew up, then do your research on the guys that are putting on buckouts and everything, and don't let contractors just put you on anything, because these guys, they bet a lot of money in these young bulls, and they want to see their bulls win. A lot of these guys, there's very few stock contractors out there that want to produce bull riders. You know,
Yeah.
they they're producing bucking bulls. That's their job, to produce bucking bulls. So they don't mind seeing a kid get stomped in the dirt. And if you repeatedly get slammed in the dirt all the time, you're not going to learn anything that way, and then you're just going to be, you know, a nobody.
For
If
real.
it didn't,
And broken. A broken nobody.
yeah,
Love that.
broken body, yeah, yeah. So,
Crazy.
but yeah, that's the best thing to do is just go to Gary LeFew or Cody Custer. You know, Cody Custer is a world champion bull rider, and he's in Arizona. He's based out of Arizona. Um, I can't remember exactly where at in Arizona he is. I think he's around the Phoenix area. And Gary LeFew's in Texas now. I think Gary's over by Decatur now. But both those guys produce schools all over the country and everything. And you can go to LeFewBullRidingWorld.com and find a list of Gary LeFew's stuff, or you can hit him up on Facebook. You know, it's probably easier to hit those guys up on Facebook than trying to do the websites that they have and everything. So, but yeah, those guys definitely are the ones to go to and learn how to ride bulls.
That's good. That's good insight for me as well. I'm always looking for, you know, minds to learn from, and, you know, who are the greats, who are the people that are also able to produce pupils in a way, you know, like, because that's a separate thing, right? It's almost like coaching and then like the actual athlete. Those are like two separate skills. So that really, I wrote down that book that you had said earlier. I was like, okay, I need to read that, get my hands on that. But yeah, as far as where people can find you on social media, what are the best ways that people can find you, ask you questions? Where can people do that?
Instagram. My Instagram is Lewis Stetson, and then my Twitter. People can find me on Twitter, Stetson Lewis, and everything's pretty easy to find. You know?
Perfect.
So yeah,
Perfect.
Ashes.
No, that's good. That's good. Sometimes when you get weird spellings and crazy stuff, it makes it really hard. But I'll also put the links down below. And perfect. So I guess we'll kind of wrap it up from here. You already did your social media stuff. Any last shout outs that you want to do? I want to give a shout out to Justin Adams for didn't directly connect us together, but that was the circle of people that we ended up kind of falling in for. So I always try to give him credit when the credit is due. But is there any last you know, shout outs that you want to give before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd like to give Justin a shout out and everything. I'm waiting for him to give me that phone call that he's bought his PBR card again. And, yeah, just shout out to him, and shout out to Gary LeFew and my traveling partner, the guy you just seen, Joseph Vasquez and stuff. He'd be another great guy to interview sometime. He's got a lot of good insight on things. So, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be sure to connect with him. And amazing. Well, you have a good rest of your night. I'm gonna get to editing this so we can drop it as soon as possible. This will be episode 1 of the bull riding segment of the Blunt Review. So I'm really excited. I really appreciate your time, and have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care.